Guys, you got to answer this for me. What is it going to take for Chelsea to finally learn how to break down low block defenses? Chelsea traveled to Brentford and escaped with a 0-0 draw. Let's get into it.
And blue is the colour. Essien! Drogba! Lampard! That could be the championship!
Greetings! Welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P, for what is your Chelsea match review, but more specifically a tactical synopsis of Chelsea's performance against Brentford. But before I get into all that, ladies and gentlemen, friends, foes, please do me a big favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification button to keep up with the latest and the newest, please. It helps me get on that algorithm. It helps me attract more people to my content. And if you don't already know, I do have a sponsor for the show. They go by the name of Major League Socks. And fellas, if you ever want to walk in the footsteps of greatness, you know what to do. Just hit them up. The link will be in the description. Now, Chelsea didn't have far to travel to play Brentford in West London and emerged with a 0-0 draw, unfortunately. Just could not find any answers or solutions to a low block defense in the final third. At the other end of the pitch, we did have a fantastic performance once again from Kepa Arrizabalaga, playing some fantastic goalkeeping for Chelsea in the last little while, making some timely saves and keeping Chelsea in it. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough to get us all 3 points. In this particular match review, we're going to be focusing on a few different things. We're going to be focusing on Brentford's press, Chelsea's ability to break the press, play more direct. We're going to be looking at Kai Havertz, and we're also going to be looking at just the overall gameplay for Graham Potter and whether or not it was effective to break down this low block defense. Okay, so we're going to start with one of the biggest aspects of this game today, being Brentford's press and Chelsea's ability to deal with it or lack thereof. And for the most part, from the very kickoff, we saw Brentford press high up the pitch. This is what they do, putting our receivers under a lot of pressure and not giving them a lot of time on the ball. Like for the first 10 to 15 minutes, even when we did get the likes of Kai Havertz on it, you just saw guys like Jan Holt just running right through him and just not giving us any time on the ball. And for me, first of all, what you need is to find the tempo of the game, and that was where Chelsea was let down in the first 20 minutes of the game. I really did think that what the pressure that was being afforded to us from Brentford, from their press, just overwhelmed Chelsea, and we just could not get a foothold in the game. We could not find the tempo of the game. We did not match the tempo of the game. And if you remember in my previous video, actually you won't, because I didn't get to put it out. Well, I was going to speak on the fact that Jorginho was so important in the middle of the pitch, just helping things tick over and stitch together attacking moves. But in this game, what was the glaring hole for me in terms of like his ability to get in the game and get involved was the fact that when he got on the ball, he wasn't meeting the tempo of the game. He wasn't able to dictate the tempo. For the most part, when you see Jorginho play for Chelsea, he likes to play at a slower tempo, slower pace, and control the game. And for whatever reason today, whenever he got on the ball, I think Brentford played at a higher tempo and he wasn't able to go through the gears and get to the level that they were playing at. So as a result, Chelsea, just did not have any rhythm or tempo into their game. And, that's one of the things that you expect to get from Jorginho, why you have him in the game, why you call him a regista, a guy that can set tempo, dictate tempo. And we just didn't get that today. As a result, Brentford were in ascendancy in the first half and from the majority of the game because they were playing at a higher tempo that we could not match. Now, when you look at the pressing aspects, of course, Chelsea recognized that they didn't have a lot of time on the ball. And what they tried to do is, I think Kepa did a great job of recognizing when they needed to go long and when they needed to, keep it short and play out from the back. When we did play out from the back, because we were pressed so relentlessly and, we couldn't get the likes of Jorginho or Kovacic when he came into the game onto the ball, we were always going out to the flanks to like Koulibaly, Cucurella, and hoping to come infield and just could not find a connection there. What ended up happening is Chelsea just looked very disjointed. The spaces between our defenders, our midfielders, and our attackers were just too big to account for the speed of the press. So when Chelsea went long, and I thought that was the right decision to do that a lot of the time, when we did go long, we went into our strikers, we went into Broa, we went into Kai Havertz. The problem was when we went direct, we didn't have the pace in the midfield to make up the distance to get into the second balls and whatnot. So, as soon as Broha would either challenge for a ball or, win a ball, he didn't have another midfielder coming in to help, build a cohesive midfield, to win that second ball and, get touch tight so we have men in and around him to build attacks from there. So even when we did try playing a little bit more direct and go aerial, we just didn't have enough presence in the midfield, pace, like real ingenuity in the midfield to pick up those second balls. I mean, I'm speaking directly of Jorginho and Kovacic. I just don't think that they're very good at like closing the space between where the ball is being won and where their starting position was. So as a result, a lot of disjointedness in the midfield. It was very much a wide open game, very much a transitional game where if you couldn't handle the speed of the game, if you couldn't handle what the pace was at, you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble. And for the most part, Chelsea were decent in that aspect. We did have a lot of possession and controlled the tempo in the second half, but that first 35-40 minutes of the game, I think Chelsea had a world of trouble just trying to deal with this press, try to deal with the tempo of the game. On the odd occasions that we were able to like bring it down under control and start building our attacks from there, our attackers just did not have any real resiliency, didn't have the ability to hold up the ball correctly, and they're just basically running down cul-de-sacs. They weren't afforded the opportunities to hold up the ball and bring the midfield into the play as well. So that where you want to see your midfield and your attackers be maybe 10 to 15 yards apart, where you're playing a little bit more direct. You want to see them a little bit more compact so they can get on the second balls. The spaces sometimes were just like 20, 25 yards, and you just can't build attacks from there. You can't rely on Broha to hold up the ball for that long, knowing how aggressive Brentford were on their pressing and just their aggression defensively. So we had a lot of problems building attacks, and when we did, again, the tempo in the final third was just non-existent. We just did not speed it up in the areas where we needed to, and it was just a labored attack. Now, in staying with the press, there was a lot of things that from Chelsea's perspective in their press sequences were just not good enough. Again, not good enough. Not putting enough pressure on the ball, not really running with the endeavor to try and win it, and like no reference point for where you wanted to engage your press. I mean, for the most part, you saw Chelsea press with a 4-3-3, with the front three putting the pressure on, being Broha, Kai Havertz and Mason Mount, but there was just no reference for where we were trying to engage and win the ball back, or where we're trying to put the pressure points on. It was just showing press and not really initiating it in the right sequences. And we didn't have any midfield to overload our areas on the pitch where we wanted to put pressure on the ball, and as a result we just did not have an effective press anywhere on the pitch. Brentford let us off the hook by going long and allowing for our center backs to compete aerially and win the ball, and that was where Chelsea won most of the balls back. It wasn't really with our press sequences, putting the defenders under, our attackers under pressure, and having them recycle the possession and then setting a trap for where we wanted to win the ball. That was the biggest problem with Chelsea out of possession today. We just did not have enough guys getting in and around the ball, using their energy to force errors. And if you contrast to what you see from Brentford, you saw all sorts of pressure, you saw all sorts of high presses, and you saw Chelsea under duress more often than not, having to hoof it out of bounds. You see Koulibaly get on the ball, switch it to his right, and just cross field pass it, and like a wayward pass every now and then as well. And a team like Chelsea need to be better at handling pressure, especially with the characteristics that we have in the players that we had on the pitch today. We should have been better at handling the pressure, and vice versa. The hallmark of a Chelsea team in years past has been their ability to put teams under an immense amount of pressure, and we just did not do that enough today, and made it very easy for Brentford to get in possession and get up the pitch. Now, I'm trying not to make a habit of talking about Kai Havertz in my videos, just because I really do think he's a young guy and he's got a lot of things that he needs to figure out before we can levy crazy criticism against this guy. But I just see so many glaring holes right now, and it's really, really alarming. Like, once again, we have Kai Havertz start the game in his preferred role as a number 10 next to Mason Mount, and the game is just passing him by constantly. The things that we need him to be as a number 10, as a conduit for our attack, he's just not providing. I mean, if we're going to compare and contrast what we want from our number 10s and look at the effort that we're getting from Mason Mount the last little while and compare and contrast to what we're getting from Kai Havertz, it's like night and day. And what I'm speaking of specifically is just wanting the ball, demanding the ball, coming to collect the ball. All of these things you see from Mason Mount for the last, at least 2 or 3 games now, where he's coming into the areas where he's confident and he wants to get on the ball. He's getting into the half spaces. He's presenting himself as an option to receive the ball. And when you look at the opposite side of the pitch, where you see where Kai Havertz is, you're just not seeing any of that. He's like shying away from the ball. He's hiding behind defenders, and he's not engaging in those half spaces to be effective. Get on the ball and like dictate what we want to do offensively. That's what you want your number 10s to do, and he's just not doing it. The things that you see, of course, I've said before, he's not very good with his back to goal. And as a result, when the ball comes into him, it's just basically going right back to the midfielders. And I just want to see more poise. I want to see more confidence. I want to see him get on the ball, take a touch, survey the pitch, and lay it off somewhere. Do something intelligent with the ball. And far too often when he lays it off to the midfielders, he's not moving into space to try and recollect the ball, like reposition himself to get back on the ball. He's just laying it up and then watching, looking around to see what the next action is from the player that's in possession of the football. And for me, my number 10s need to know if I'm laying it off again, I'm moving into the positions where I can get on the ball again in a better position where I can impact the game. And he's just not doing that. He's just not doing that match after match after match after match. And then when he gets in these incredible areas like inside the 18 and you expect him to do something, clever on the ball and, just use his ability to impact the game in that particular area, his touches are letting him down. There was an instance in that first half where, he brings the ball down, he's getting ready to shimmy past a defender and maybe even like lay off a shot or lay it off to another attacker, and his touch just lets him down again. Like he takes a one touch to shimmy past the defender, it dribbles 3 yards away from where he is, and he can't get back on the ball, and the attacking move breaks down there. The Kai Havertz that I want to see in those situations is a guy that has a deft touch and knows how to manipulate the ball to keep it close to him so that he's still in possession of it and not worried about like his first touch, dribbling like 3-4 yards away from him and not being able to take another touch. That's happened far too often for a guy that you expect to be silky, for a guy that you expect to be, incredible talent. And, I'm not going to harp on it too much because I really do feel like he has a lot to learn. He has to get a lot stronger and be able to play with his back to goal because, again, he's not busy enough off the ball in order to, reposition himself to be in areas where he can be effective. So he has to get stronger. If he wants to be more stationary and he wants to be a guy that is just going to collect the ball and then hold off the defender and then, spin in behind, then he has to be more strong. He has to get stronger on the ball. And right now he's just not there. Now, you will get a fair few people that will tell you that Chelsea's midfield is part of the reason why we're not getting a lot of goal-scoring opportunities. But in this particular match, I don't think that was really the issue. Because there was so much in transition, teams going back and forth at each other, I feel like the game just bypassed the midfield anyways, and we got it directly into our attackers. A lot of opportunities, whether it be into Broha, whether it be into Kai Havertz, whether it be into Mount, like Pulisic galloping at people and whatnot, Ruben Loftus-Cheek getting into space. And for whatever reason, whenever we got into the final third and we're in a position to really, really take advantage of the game, take advantage of the opportunities that were presented to us, it broke down every time. In the case of like Broha just taking too many touches and not wanting to like fire off a shot. And in terms of Kai Havertz, he just wasn't really economical with his touches. It was 2, 3, 4 touches before he can really get it under control and get it into an area where he can, really impact the game. And when he was trying to lay it off to another attacker, his passes were just way too wayward, and it pulled the attacker out of a position to be really influential. So again, the problems are tenfold really when you consider what we're trying to do in the final third. But for me, Kai Havertz just has to get stronger on the ball. If he's not going to engage in those half spaces and move, use his movement to get in behind, spin in behind and whatnot, then he has to be stronger to hold up the ball. And right now we're just not seeing any of that. Now, I do understand that this season is going to be a long one because for the most part, Chelsea are going to have to rotate a lot. And, we don't necessarily have a preferred 14, a squad of guys that we can just rotate in and out and expect high-level performances, right? We barely have an 11, especially after we just lost, Reece James and, we've been without Conte and, Fofana's gone now too. We barely have an 11. So to bring guys off the bench right now and expect high-level performances from them, it's asking for a lot, not just because, they haven't played a lot, but like the chemistry on the pitch, the understanding on the pitch is just not there right now. We don't have a cohesion in our attack. We don't have a cohesion in our midfield. And for this reason, I kind of have to fault Graham Potter for his selections today. One of the most informed midfielders that we have right now is Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and he's been playing extremely well, the last few matches that he's been playing in the midfield. And we took him out of that position and played him out on the right, the right wing back position because obviously we don't have Reece James. For the life of me, I just don't understand why you take away a building block, a performance that we've been getting from Ruben Loftus-Cheek the last little while, and move him to another position where he can't really impact the game the same way. And, again, with this lack of chemistry, lack of cohesion, you want players on the pitch that are in familiar roles and excelling in those roles. And we just didn't do that. It's the same thing the last game where he played Raheem Sterling at right wing back and then realized that he's just not capable of playing there and moved him back into his natural role as a left winger. And again, these are the things that I'm talking about. Like, if we don't have, I understand that we don't have a full complement of squad players, and the guys that are coming in from the cold and whatnot need repetition, and they need the time to formulate chemistry with the other players on the pitch. I think this is just going to be the hallmark of the season. We're just not going to be able to have a cohesive squad. We're just going to have to be bringing in players from the cold and, hoping that they can coalesce with the players that have been playing and whatnot. And, just rotation. Like, there's too many matches for us to really look at these types of games against Brentford in the midweek and look for, stellar performances. So as much as I fault Graham Potter for not really, addressing the issues in the game fast enough and bringing players off that we're not playing well enough, at the same time, I really have to say that what were the options there? We don't know what the fitness levels is of a guy like Raheem Sterling right now. He's played a lot of matches. Aubameyang playing a lot of matches, not exactly spring chicken. And, the likes of, Zakaria, like, what's his levels at right now? He can't even get on the pitch. He barely even makes the bench at times. So, it is going to be a difficult season, and I think that for the most part we're going to be struggling to find performances of the highest standard because the matches are just coming too thick and fast, and we have to use the squad, and the squad that we have at our disposal right now is just not very deep. And with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. Chelsea unable to get all 3 points at Brentford, and the balance of play. Let's be honest here, neither of those teams did enough to win the game for me, but the better chances did fall to Brentford, and had it not been for my man of the match, Kepa, again, Chelsea wouldn't have had a share of the spoils today. We really need to address what's happening between our midfield and our attackers right now. There is a gap there. There's not that one person in between our midfield and our attackers stitching it together and keeping things ticking over. I mean, you can make the argument that that's supposed to be Mason Mount, and he has been improving his performances the last little while. But I need to see more. I need to see ideation in the final third. I need to see guys making runs off of the ball in the likes of Kai Havertz. I want to see more from him, a lot more from him. And it's just not good enough right now. Obviously we can point to the fact that we are heavily rotating our squad and will be for the rest of the season. I can guarantee that. There's just too many matches, in succession for Chelsea not to, use the fullness of the squad. And if we are going to do that, we're going to have to get some really good performances from guys like Broja, who I thought had a pretty decent game, Only thing that I think that was missing from his game was just the finish. I feel like when he was attacking the ball, he really needs to put his all into attacking the ball when he's looking for goal scoring opportunities. There was that wicked cross from Aspilicueta where he went in, and I feel like he went in more with his chest than he committed his head forward to try and heading it in. And as a result, couldn't get on it. But yeah, he had a very, very good game. He's got pace, man. That guy has space to get in behind, and I think that he's a guy that we can use in situations. This would have been one of them. He had a few opportunities that he got in behind and just took a few too many touches and couldn't score. We saw Carney getting in the game as well, and I thought he had a penalty, to be honest. A interesting penalty shot. Like, can't remember who the defender was, but he just basically bundled into him into the box, and on another day, that's given us a penalty. So unfortunate there. But good to see that guy get on the pitch, Carney get on the pitch, and hopefully he can use this performance to build on and get some more opportunities later. But you know what to do, fellas. We got Man United next, man. This is the big one now. I just don't want to drop any points to Man United. It's just one of those fixtures that you just want to see Chelsea come out all guns a-blazing and take it to them, and hopefully we can do that. It is at Stamford Bridge, if I'm not mistaken, so we really need to be on the front foot with our preferred lineup, and hopefully we can emerge with the 3 points. But until then, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high. Chelsea. Nice.